recording. And then, okay, I will put in the chat all of the links for everything that we've been working on so far. So copy link. Okay, the first one should be our notes from last week. This next one is like just kind of scratch paper notes. Anyone can answer. Yep.
My access is denied to that first link.
Okay, I was wondering if that was going to happen. The second, please let me know if it works in the second, because the second one should be totally open for everyone, and I will change this one right now. I'm sorry about that.
Yep, the second one's good.
Okay, perfect. Here is the first one again, and then the second one, and then our things for.
You left us, and now you rejoined this whole group.
Oh. Does someone have the other meeting still open?
I had it open. Well, I went back into it and I left.
Oh yeah, I think that's what we were hearing.
Yeah. And Stephanie, I'm one of these paper and pencil people. That's part of the reason I still teach at pre-K. I'm actually print those 3 out for my own benefit. So I'll end up disappearing for a couple minutes once I get them printed.
Okay, no, sure. And then I'm not sure what happened the whole time, but I can. What are we still missing that we might need? Does everyone have a copy of the Google form?
Yeah, I got one.
Okay. All right. Okay. And then hopefully this will be the form of the activity for today. So, all right. Good.
Good.
Perfect. All right. So then we have, about 40 minutes to go through.
2 of them or 4 of them?
3.
Okay, because there's 4 links up, and that's why I was asking about it, because I was in the midst of printing them all.
Sure. The first one and the third one are the same.
Okay.
It's just with the open access for everybody.
Wanted to make sure.
Sure. I get it. Would anyone like to take notes today?
I can, again, if no one else wants to.
Okay, thank you.
There's a reason I'm a paper pencil person.
Yep. No, I can handle it.
Thank you. And then for speaking and sharing out, anyone feel like particularly vocal today?
If nobody wants to, I'm more than willing to share. I mean,
Okay, thank you. And then Kathleen, would you want to share your screen since you'll be taking it?
Yes, I can do that. I think I clicked on the scratch paper isn't letting me edit.
I don't think you gave us edit access to the scratch paper document.
Got that. I am not doing a very nice job of anything today. I'm so sorry. Okay, now you should be able to.
Okay, and I think you'll be able to see my screen momentarily.
That too. Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Perfect. Okay, so I feel like we basically just have to synthesize what we thought last week and then put that into the other 2 documents. That's sort of what I understood, but if you think there was something else, please jump in.
sounds about right. And try and figure out what our big ideas are, our big thoughts.
Yeah. I was kind of surprised that in the recap that they gave that there weren't any bullet points about inclusion or diversity or community, really, that was kind of disappointing that they missed that. I felt like a lot of people hit on it when we had like the big group discussion afterwards. So I still would like to include that in our big thoughts.
Yeah, the only thing I didn't figure is they kind of lumped it all under differentiate, because I think that was one. But I think they meant differentiate our statement from anybody else.
Yeah.
But I kind of thought that because when I first read differentiate, I'm like, okay, that's a teaching term. That's something we do for kids and everything like that. And then I read it further. I'm like, no, they're talking about specifically what's going to stand out versus Woodland or another school district or what have you.
Exactly.
I actually, when they were talking, and we were talking about all this stuff, the one thing, a note I jotted down, and I don't know if we talked about it last week. I have to go back and look at the notes. He talked about why are we not striving, and when he mentioned that, the something that popped in my head was foundation for life. You know, like that's where we're at. You know, I look at it pre-K. It's the foundation for going through school and eventually to life. But if we're in a big district, that should be kind of where we're headed. My thought process. That whatever we put in there should reference that somehow. You know, maybe those aren't the terms we use, but in some capacity.
Sure.
I went like after last week. Like I took ideas and I wrote a mission statement based on some things. I mean, and I don't have to share it, but like things that I put in there when I started stringing words for me that are important is diverse learners, critical thinkers, and acting with kindness. When I think about a pre-K to 8 district, when they go to high school, those are things that I want my kids to be able to do. I want them to be part of a diverse community. I want them to think critically and act kindly. So those are things that came out to me as I put words together.
Nice, thank you.
And this is the way my brain functions, so I apologize. To me, what you said there, you know, and not that from a personal standpoint, it matters to me down the road if a kid remembers me or not, because I get them when they're so young. But you almost taking what you talked about, to me, I'd like to, as a district, say, okay, when they leave us, they're going to look back and say, that was awesome at when I was in elementary school, whether it be collectively or individually. I mean, that's a whole nother issue, but that so that they, you know, we kind of supersede the high school level. That this was so awesome that the high school kind of pales. I mean, how you put that into a mission statement, I don't know.
That's awesome.
But I definitely like the kindness one too.
Mm-hmm. So like authentic teaching experiences or like field trips or even virtually, just things that connect, right? So they can be prepared and ready, but also, like you said, sets apart from high school in that.
And I like the term authentic teaching. Like today, the big thing we started in pre-K is, at least for my group, is talking about balls and stuff like that. And so I found a Mr. Rogers video where he took them to a ball factory. I mean, I couldn't do that in real life nowadays, but this was a perfect example. And so that's that authentic. This is actually how they're made. So, you know, I definitely like that authentic terminology.
Nice. Nice. Do you think we need any other notes, or are we good to go to the main form and on the Google form?
I'm good.
I think. Yeah. All right. Thank you. So, Kathleen, would you be okay to present that, or would you like me to set it up?
Yeah, I can present that. Hold on.
Oh, yeah. It wasn't a rush. I was just asking if you felt comfortable doing it.
I guess this is part of our discussion notes, but not part of our 5 short big thoughts or whatever. I'm just trying to read our notes from last week and just remember that, like, we want to make sure that our wording isn't passive, that and that it's present tense and powerful wording. Yeah.
Okay. I added that to our notes. Okay, so I can just copy and paste, right, from there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then all of that are 5 short, big thoughts. So inclusion, diversity, right? Diverse learners.
Mhm.
I feel like that phrase diverse learners really encompasses a lot of that idea of inclusion. That's just like a really great phrase. I love it.
Awesome.
It's one of those phrases that, as we move forward, if things change in some capacity, you know, it falls under the diverse aspect.
Mhm.
I see a lot. Once again, reference pre-K. Some kids I can tell them how to do it, and they got it. Other kids we got to be making it or doing it or what have you, and risking, you know, fingernails being cut off for them to get it. But that, you know, that's that whole concept. And some kids you just show them a picture and I got it.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Might be kind of cliche, but along the foundations idea, just building foundations or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
as an active verb form of that. You could construct the whole mission statement in a house metaphor, I suppose, if you wanted to. Building foundations, constructing whatever.
Right.
That's true.
And Rich, I just want to make sure this is not necessarily a statement. It's just the big things we want to we think that need to be in that mission statement, correct?
Right. You're not wordsmithing it for the mission statement. You want your idea to be generated. So like what I was thinking of when you were talking about diverse learners, can that be commonly defined by your community? So if someone came into your school district and they saw the words diverse learners in your mission statement, or in maybe above the front door, you know, as they're walking into the building, what is that? Does that explain what you are? If it does, if it meets that, then that's good.
And I think that's the advantage of having people who are in from the community look at it, because to me it would absolutely explain what's going on. You know, kids that, you know, speak a different language, struggle with speech and language skills, are the gifted students, you know, the students who could probably run a class by themselves at times, you know, the whole gamut. But that's because I have, you know, 31 years background as a teacher. It makes sense to me.
Right, you're an educator. So I'm talking about
absolutely. I'm an educator, and so does the average person from the community. I see where you're getting at. Does it make sense to them? And
right.
My guess is my experience with my wife and our oldest who has special needs is, back then she may not have understood that, truly grasped that concept. You know, all the kids are average, they're the same. They, you know, school is the same. That, where does that diverse fall in? And so I think, you know, like I said, I know what you're getting at. How to change it, that I don't know, because that's terminology that I use.
Right.
Well, I'll give you an example with another district we're working with. They're discussing the term regular education versus general education, because they want to change it to general education, not regular education. But same thing happens. Now, what does that mean? Right? No.
For me, from my perspective, I'm the parent of a child with special needs. So to me, seeing diverse learners means that my kid is included. And it also means that people from other diverse backgrounds, not just kids with special needs, but there's so many different types of diversity that they're all included too, you know? So to me, that's why it's such a nice phrase. I like that it's describing the word learners as, you know, the noun there, that we're all here to learn. So I like that part of it.
So Samantha, my question for you then is, and I've been around special education my entire life. My brother, who's 3 years younger than me, came through CEDAW, came through the system. So once again, I go back to my own personal experience. That makes absolute sense. Do you think the community members that you interact with when you're out with community who aren't educators, if you use that term, do they get it? I guess it's I think that's what Rich is asking, and does it make sense? And that's how I interpret what he's asking. If you go down to the freeze and ask for an ice cream and they say, what's the mission statement? You say, well, we have diverse learners. Is the person behind the counter going to understand what that means?
Yeah. I think that diverse to me probably means something different than it did 3 or 4 years ago when I didn't have a kid with special needs yet. Right. But I still think that given the current climate that we live in, there's a pretty good understanding of what diverse means. I think there's a lot of discussion around racial diversity, but with that comes a lot of discussion around disability rights too, and the LGBTQ community. So to me, it's very all encompassing. But
I would just say, what's the difference between, or what would be more widely understood, all learners or diverse learners?
I think diverse in this case, because it really will encompass all of the District 46. It's everyone and diverse in various different avenues and ways, very similar to what Ms. Samantha was saying. I think all learners is okay, well, it's everyone, sure. But diverse is really saying, well, we know that not everyone learns the same. And here is, 4 different languages spoken and taught in this school, or here are very specific activities. Like my daughter's autistic, so here's some very specific activities that we can do in this classroom, and I feel like it's more all encompassing.
I think the word diverse addresses what all glosses over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
all is it sounds really nice, but you're just kind of paying lip service to an idea. And I think diverse just gets more to we're actually addressing it. We're going to use the word and tell you what we mean.
And I think it also gives the term all, it gives it substance. All is just, it's kind of like, saying I teach 3, 4, and 5-year-olds. Well, what does that mean? Well, I teach an integrated class. Okay, that has a little bit more information. That means I'm having kids from all over. So I think diverse does that with all. It gives it some substance to it versus a kind of a hollow term. And I think, and hollow is one of those generic terms we use for, or all is one of those terms we use generically for a lot of things. Mm-hmm. So, but like I said, that how much of that is skewed because I'm in the field and have been for a long time.
You ought to, Jim, you ought to try that sometime. Go down to that freeze and throw it out. See what people say.
I should. I'm always up for ice cream.
I am too. I got to go to another group game.
All right.
That was nice. Thank you. Okay. Diverse learners in it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I know what he was getting at, and that's why I asked you, Samantha, about your experience is a little different and newer than my experience, and so I agree. It covers a lot of things. I have 2 kids that started this year amidst this stay-at-home school that speak. It's funny. It's ironic. They both speak the same language. It's a Middle Eastern language, but their levels are different. The girl is spot on. She can give me these nice long English statements, and the young man he struggles with it, and they're the same age, so just in that alone, it's diverse.
Mm-hmm. I Googled synonyms for diverse. I did not see any good ones.
Well, thanks. Okay, so we need 4 more big thoughts, right? And then this one has to go into that other document.
Oh, yeah, I have to put that there. Okay.
Stephen early on talked about that foundation stuff.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Do we call it, because what we put on our notes there is the Foundations for Life, which is the one that I kind of are building foundations, but constructing. What's that term that's going to make the most sense to everybody else? Is it to me, I think it has to be either building or constructing. My idea is what we want. How do we get there? We have to have that action verb, that and whether You know, I personally, and once again, like I said, because I use this term with my pre-Kers all the time, we're going to construct something. We're going to construct a building. Because I try and make it a little bit more. That construction, I think, is, I don't know, gives it back to that substance aspect of it. It gives it some substance. Construction is all encompassing. So you have guys that work here and guys that work here and guys that work here. And I think if you tie that in with our educational experience, you've got it. You've got, you know, teachers that teach what are considered general ed or regular ed classes. You have your special ed teachers. You have your resource teachers. You have physical therapists and occupational therapists, and, you know, your psychologists and your social workers and your office staff and your principals and your custodians and all those people that integrate. To me, constructing, when I think of it, it's a group.
Yeah.
I guess I would only ask, and I like the constructing, what are they constructing? I think life is too big of a term. I like where it goes.
Yeah.
I think we need to construct what for the group that we're looking at.
Mm-hmm.
So what foundational skills, what are we constructing? What skills are we doing for this, you know, do we want them to be able to do? And so just shorten that up in times of span of time.
Right.
Life is long. You know, we hope everybody's life is long, but.
Well, it's almost like if you look at our notes from just today, we talked about diverse learners, and then you get into critical thinkers and acting with kindness. You almost want to construct, to me, the logical progression if you construct critical thinkers, somehow we tie those together. That kindness and all that stuff comes along. You know, we may still have to make specifically delineate it, but I think if that's your construction, that's because that's what you are constructing, is critical thinkers. You know, they're going to challenge what they don't necessarily agree with, but they're also going to be willing to say, okay, I see your view. You know, that aspect, that give and take.
So constructing critical thinkers or something like that?
Well, at this point in time, it's just a big thought. What do you think? You know, and I like the constructing, because if we go to the bottom of that, I think constructing is a powerful word. It's also present tense. We're doing it right now.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. And I think it's something you can, when you, again, looking towards, it goes to a vision and goals and stuff. I think as a district, you can write goals about how you are going to construct that. There's Common Core, there's social emotional, you know, standards. There's all these things that lead right to that the district can pull from to do that.
I think that all makes sense. It's significant without being aggressive. Does that make sense?
Yeah, actually, it does, Stephen, because you're right. It's not aggressive. It's not, you know, almost like it doesn't come across as a mandate. You know, this is what's going to happen. We're building, and once again, we go back to constructing. I mean, that's a big picture. Everybody's involved.
Yeah, too. What about the authentic teaching experiences, or the teaching and learning? How do you put that together? Like, I think that's a big idea. And maybe it's just that authentic, you know, teaching experiences or whatever, but.
Mm-hmm.
It could be, because you know, I think it's easy when they're younger to have those authentic experiences. It's cause and effect, and but that's where I'm at a loss for how do we incorporate it. I think it needs to be in there. You know, I think it's definitely, if we're talking substance, it's substantial. You know, because authentic is how to, you know, we all grew up at some point in time and said, well, when am I going to use math? You know, when am I going to use these terms? Well, all of us write checkbooks or balance a bank account nowadays. We know that. You know, we use it other places. So how do we, that's got to be a part of, I think, the mission statement for the district is we're doing this authentically. But the wording is.
Can we
I like. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
providing authentic experiences?
What was that?
Can we say that we're providing authentic experiences?
I think at least as a starting point for sure, unless unless we come up with another word.
I was just going to say, I feel like if you do authentic teaching experiences, someone might say, should it just be authentic teachers? But the thing that I really like about authentic teaching experiences is that not everything you learn is from your teacher. Like not everybody at school is a teacher. So I really like that.
Well, I would think we could just put that term in there. It's the big idea of what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree. I mean, I remember as a kid growing up, and there were, the custodian was always the coolest person in the building. How many things did you learn from him? Growing up, I had a custodian in one of our buildings who, if you happened to be out there and he was doing something, he'd take the time to appropriately, tell you what he was doing, and so you learn a little life skill.
Mhm.
I think adding learning to the authentic teaching and learning, I think that does help it make more sense.
Mm-hmm.
It keeps it student centered.
Nice.
I think kindness is a big one too. Basically, if it was just diverse learners, critical thinkers acting with kindness, I would be like, yeah, that sounds great.
Well, and here's my thought, and I got about a dozen or books that I read to my kids that incorporate kindness and how to treat each other. Would respect achieve the same purpose and be a little bit more powerful? And I'm literally just asking you a question. I mean, I could see them be used interchangeably, but as a mission statement, would acting with respect have more power, or do you think it's a different look?
I do feel like it has more power, but I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing. I think of it as like I would hear it in like a corporate setting of like, you got to respect people. And I feel like especially for these grade school kids, pre-K kids, grade school, being kind is okay. Like it's okay to have some like a little more feelings. You don't have to just respect somebody. It's like great to be kind, even if you don't respect somebody, to be kind to them, or even if you do respect somebody, you might not like them, so you might not be kind. It'd be great if you could do both. I like.
What about like
and you're talking about it, and you're talking about respect being more of a corporate term. Once again, where I think through some things, I think if you treat somebody with kindness, you're naturally going to get the respect. It's going to be where you can respect somebody, not necessarily get the kindness in return.
Yeah.
So, kindness. So like, this isn't good, but like modeling kindness and reciprocating respect or something like that. That's kind of both of those ideas, right? But I don't know. It's just an outlook thought. Sorry.
Yeah, no. And like I said, I think the natural progression is you treat somebody with kindness, the respect will follow. You don't necessarily have to, at least for a mission statement, I don't know that you have to delineate that out.
Got it.
But yeah, definitely put in notes because that's the goal. Now, acting with kindness versus treating others with kindness, I don't know.
I was going to say interacting with kindness.
Well, that's a good one.
Oh,
Awesome.
That provides the two-way street.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I don't know if we're ready to move on, but I just think that the idea of like being an awesome school, an awesome district, I like that. Like, maybe it's kind of cheesy, but I like it. I don't know.
And like I said, for the students I have, for the most part, 95% of them will forget who I am. I mean, that's okay. That's the nature of teaching the age I teach. I get it. But when you have that that one or two that come back and say, you were the best teacher I had, or I remember when you did this, or I remember when you did that, that says a lot. And so if, as a district, if we can have that kind of impact, you know, and when they're 30 years old and they say, you know what, the best experience I had was when I was at Grays Lake District 46, or this you know, that elementary level teacher.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
You know, so.
That's awesome.
Yeah, is there a way to phrase something so that it implies you know, we always want learning to be fun. We want, because we want kids to have good memories of
Right.
being in the district. So is there a way to like encompass that idea? As a big idea, a big thought. I'm trying to think of words and they're not coming to me right now.
I know.
Like I always talk about my 5-year-old self. My 5-year-old self would say, just put awesome in there. Be done with it.
Which is completely okay too. I love that word.
Oh, what was the name of the girl?
And then just look for big thoughts. So I don't know.
Yeah.
How about awesome elementary school experience, and leave it there, because we know it's going to be tweaked on.
Yeah.
Awesomeness.
Because then it does talk about what happens. You know, hopefully it is fun, or you know, a teacher. I think we've all had a teacher at some point in time who's been able to connect with you. That's, you know, sometimes that's hard. I mean, some of the kids you work with, it's hard. You got to figure out what the connection is. But once you get it, you know, it's awesome. It's great.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. And I added them to our main one. So I think
Okay.
in terms of tasks, I think that's awesome.
All right. I'm going to submit it.
Perfect.
Go ahead.
You ready?
I'll take it. Awesome.
Mhm.
Clicked the button.
Woohoo.
No taking it back.
Right. I'll put it on there.
All right. Thank you very much. So then we're supposed to be back in the main room in 3 minutes anyway. So it's okay. So we'll stop the recording and end this, and then see you all if we come back to breakout rooms.
All right.
Thank you.
Sounds good.
Bye.